gone with the wind, just like a leaf that has blown away, gone with the wind. My romance has flown away. Yesterday's kisses are still on my lips. I had a lifetime of heaven at my fingertips, but now all is gone. Gone is the rapture that thrilled my heart, gone with the wind. The gladness that filled my heart, just like a flame. Love burned brightly, then became an empty smoke ring that has gone with the wind. In case you have been wondering about Graham McNamee's absence, he's been on vacation in Maine, at Doc Rockwell's country seat at Booth Bay Harbor, rocking calmly back and forth in the sun. You may recall that Doc asked Graham about the last time he was with us, and I believe there was some argument about whether or not Doc really meant it. Graham brought Doc back with him, so we may expect a detailed report on the vacation at once. Here's the Doc and his rocking chair.
How are you, Rudy?
How are you, Doc? Fine, thanks.
Well, Sir Rudy, do you realize that it's always a great thing for me to get back here on this program with you?
And we're glad to have you back with us, Doc.
Yes, Sir Rudy, and I think the reason that I like to be here with you is your personality. Do you know, on the level, Rudy, if I was a woman, there's nobody that I'd rather marry in this world than you.
Let's skip that.
That's on the level.
I understand you're going with the Ziegfeld Follies this season.
Yes, sir, and I'm working on one of the sketches right now. It's about a cow with a paralyzed tail. The name of it is Dead End, Rudy.
Tell us, how's the rocking chair campaign?
Now, this sketch starts off, when the curtain goes up, you find me right off the bat. I'm there with the cow, and I've just milked the cow, and I'm feeding the milk back to the cow. It seems it came through thin the first time, and I figured it'd be a good thing to run it through again. Well, sir, look who's here. If it ain't Graham. How are you, Graham?
Oh, don't Graham me.
Why, what's this? What's the matter?
Yeah, matter enough. You invited me up, and I went up there and spent 2 weeks with you in Booth Bay Harbor as a guest, didn't I? And
yes.
You have the nerve to make out a bill to me for $140 and collect the money at my office when I'm away.
You know, I was just telling Rudy about a funny sketch I'm writing for the Follies.
Oh, never mind the hot air now. What I want to know is about this bill.
You know, Graham, I want to tell you something on the level. If I was a woman, there's nobody that I'd rather marry in this world than you.
Oh, you big four-flusher. I was
matter?
just out in the doorway and I heard you say the same thing to Rudy Vallee.
Well, that's before I met you, honey.
Will you stop this horseplay?
Now, wait a minute, Graham, and listen, if we ever do get married, Graham, I'd like to have a nice little home of our own where there's a lawn so you can mow the lawn.
Oh, that's nonsense.
No, it's
mow
not
the
nonsense.
Lawn.
You've got to get exercise and reduce that stomach, Graham. How are you going to hold our grandchildren with no laugh?
Oh, that's a lot of tripe. How are you going to explain this bill?
Now, wait a minute, Graham. I can explain everything if you won't get excited and yell so loud. Now, about the bill. First of all, is there an overcharge of some kind?
Overcharge? After going up there as a guest,
Why?
Putting in the most terrible 2 weeks I ever had in my life. Overcharge.
Now, wait a minute. You're only kidding yourself. You know that you had a good time up
Good time, nothing.
Yes.
It was awful.
What do you mean?
Pot roast. That's all we ever... I never want to look another pot roast in the face as long as I live. That's how I feel.
Well, how do you think the pot roast feels about it?
What was that?
Yes, why, my mistake, Graham. Go ahead. I did...
And then hanging around mornings and wondering when I'm ever going to eat for hours and hours. One morning we didn't have breakfast till after 11 o'clock.
Well, after all, you can't cook pot roast in 10 minutes, Graham.
Pot roast for breakfast.
Yes, and another thing, Graham, you've got to admit, now tell the honest truth, didn't I do everything possible to make you feel at home? I gave you the best room in the house, right next to the bathroom.
But I never got in there. Your aunt was in there all the time, washing clothes in the bathtub.
Oh, Good old Aunt Maggie, always washing. She's the cleanest woman in Booth Bay Harbor. You notice, Graham, you always had different napkins.
Yes, but we always had the same old pot roast.
Yes, pot roast. Well, listen, Graham, all fooling aside, I've done everything possible that I can, and you know that thing. You know Graham as well as I do, didn't I? Yeah. Didn't I do all that I could?
Oh.
Ah, you know it, Graham.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Now, what do you mean? When I say a thing like that, I'll back it up. By the way, Graham, now, wait a minute. Don't laugh. This is on the level. Did I ever tell you the story about the two? Wait a minute. I've got to get this thing over. Don't get away from it. Don't try to back out, Graham. Did I ever tell you the story about the two fleas?
No, and you're not going.
Wait,
the bill is what I want.
No, wait a minute. It'll only take a couple of seconds, Graham.
Yeah.
These two fleas were with a circus.
Yeah.
They saved up money for years and years. Finally, they had enough to buy a dog between them and settle down.
Oh, listen, I'm tired of being kicked around now and being made a fool of. How about my money? You don't give me back every cent of it now, I'll call up every newspaper reporter that I know. I'll let them know what kind of a bird you are, mister.
Now, wait a minute, Graham. Don't do that.
Well, I'll tell them about this bill, $140 for board and room and incidentals.
What? Wait a minute. Does it say board and room there on the bill?
Of course it does. It says it right there. Why is it?
Oh, well, that's different. That's a mistake, Graham. No wonder you got mad. I wouldn't charge any guest of mine for board and room.
Well, I felt there was something wrong.
No.
That's certainly a load off my mind.
I know. That's a mistake, Graham. That's not for board and room. That $140 is for incidentals.
Incidentals?
Yes.
What's this new thing now?
Why, incidentals? You know, miscellaneous, sundry.
That doesn't go. Be specific. Itemize them.
Why, offhand, mucilage and dress shields.
Dress shields?
Yes.
Dress shields?
Yes.
This whole thing is an outrageous farce, and you're not going to make a sap out of me any longer.
Wait a minute, Graham. Now take it easy. Take it easy.
You big hot air merchant. An American windbag.
Now, wait, go ahead, Graham. Say all that you want to. The trouble with you is that you fly off the handle. There's the trouble with you. It's no wonder you're always making enemies.
What do you mean, making enemies?
Well, you know what I mean, making enemies. But I can overcome the whole thing. I've got a little book here, Graham, that shows the whole thing.
I don't want a little book, and I don't want a big book either.
Wait a minute, Graham. Just take this book and look at it. The name of that thing is called How to Win Friends and Other Valuable Premiums.
What did you mean a minute ago by saying making enemies?
Well, you certainly don't make friends, Graham, by trying to get rid of olive stones at the dinner table by putting them in the man's pocket sitting next to you.
I never did a thing like that in my life.
Oh, I didn't say you did, Graham, but this book avoids any possibility like this. No man ever has enough friends, Graham, by supposing, for instance, you want to sell subscriptions and win a bicycle or something like that.
That's a lot of nonsense.
There's one last field, but you'll take more friends. This tells how to make friends. And, Graham, the whole secret is explained in this book is to learn to put yourself in the background.
Why don't you try a little bit of that?
Now, wait a minute, Graham. Don't get personal. Don't get personal, Graham. There's another fault this book explains thoroughly. Now, right here, for instance, that remark, that little personal remark you just made, you don't think for one moment that that builds up, engenders, or nourishes kindly feelings towards you in my breast, do you? But don't worry about the thing, Graham. The little book will explain the whole thing.
Did I tell you I don't want it?
Well, there you are, Graham. I don't want this. I don't want... That's the trouble with you. You don't keep yourself in the background. Why, the very first time I set eyes at you at the dinner table, I knew you were an introvert.
What do you mean, an introvert?
An introvert, a man who eats corn. He turns the corn towards himself. An extrovert turns the corn outward.
Hey, who started this corn on the cob business anyway?
Why, we've got an old maid up in Booth Bay Harbor with only one tooth. When she gets through with an ear of corn, it looks like a corkscrew. Now, come on, Graham, let's get right down to business. I want you to take this book.
I don't want the book.
Yes, you do, too, Graham. You want the book. Just think of the thousands of friends it'll make. Anybody in your business needs it in the public eye.
Well, naturally, you're right about that.
You realize, Graham, now this is serious. This is on the level. Do you realize, Graham, that you are probably one of the most popular men on the radio? And not only that, Graham, the women of this country are crazy about you.
Well, that's not for me to say, Doc.
Well, there you are. Now, there's the idea. Now, you read this book, and not only... I don't care how many friends that you have today, read the book, and you will have millions and more. Now, think of millions more admirers, loyal, enthusiastic fans writing in, Graham McNamee fans, millions of them.
All right, I'll read the book.
There you are. All right, Graham, here is your book.
Well, thanks, Doc, thanks.
Yes, sir. Now, that will cost you exactly $2.50.
You mean to start selling me this book?
Yes, sir.
Well, this is the last straw. Why, you great
Wait a minute, Graham. Wait. Where are you going?
I'm going down to the restaurant until you're through.
Oh, wait a minute, Graham. Say, lay off the pot roast. It's terrible. So long.
Next week, our cast will be headed by Miss Maureen O'Sullivan of Hollywood and Willie Howard of Broadway. And, of course, Tommy Riggs and Betty Lou Barry will be here with some other interesting people we hope you like. The Rudy Vallee Company goes to Detroit, Michigan for a 6-day engagement at the Eastwood Gardens. We'll be seeing you there, and this is Rudy Vallee bidding you all good night.
This is the National Broadcasting Company.